Today on the news and why it matters, the DOJ releases a report concluding James Comey violated FBI policy. And of course, James Comey now wants an apology. We'll get into that. Also, Lawrence O'Donnell issues a retraction, but a lot to get into, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined once again by Mr. Stu Bergier of the Glenn Beck radio program. Thanks for being with us, Stu.
Thank you for having me.
Or is this the thing we're going to do every day?
No, I was just going to be silent, but you kept prodding me for an answer, so I kept going.
Thank you for being here, Stu Bergier.
I appreciate your thank you.
We've got your maiden voyage on the show, Mr. Will Ricciardella, social media director and reporter for The Washington Examiner. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sorry that you have to, I assume you live in D.C.?
I live in D.C., unfortunately.
I'm
pretty terrible. You have no idea.
Welcome here. Welcome here. And once again, returning, Jeremy Dice from First Liberty. Thanks for being here.
Always good to be with you.
So first up, the DOJ has, of course, released the report about James Comey. And Will, I know you've been really paying attention to this story. You're probably going to do a better job than I am of kind of explaining what the report summarized.
Well, the report was a scathing report. You know what I mean? Comey comes out, this book of higher loyalty. He plays himself up as this guy who's above it all, right? I mean, the report really tears him down. It says he violated these internal policies. These policies were created just so something like this wouldn't happen, that he wouldn't, leak this information to his buddy at Columbia University. Here's this synthesis between government and academia. And then that's really what started. This was the whole genesis of the criminal investigation. Prior, it was Crossfire Hurricane. This started the criminal investigation. So now you have the Mueller investigation at the behest of Comey and his actions violating these policies. So we may not have even had the Mueller investigation had this not happened. And I mean, this is really, Comey's, and Horowitz finding that, Comey saying, I don't trust the Attorney General. I don't trust the Deputy Attorney General. I know more. I'm more virtuous. He really sees himself as the most virtuous person in government. He did the same thing with Loretta Lynch, even in the it's a bipartisan thing to him. He thinks he's above everybody. And I think he thought that, his legacy would be, here I went after Donald Trump. I'm the guy who raised these red flags. I mean, he's been in government a long time. He was a deputy attorney general. He knows the system. He was the FBI director. He knows exactly what he was doing here. And he tries to play it off as if he's a man of higher character, higher virtue.
Yeah. So the report said, of course, that he violated all of these policies and he leaked sensitive information. But I think his distinction that he wants to make sure everyone knows he's vindicated on is that it wasn't classified. So that makes it okay, I guess, even though he still violated the policies and it was still sensitive information. Well, it wasn't classified.
Right. And he had totally leaks all over. Look, this FBI constantly leaked. He had a briefing in I believe it was January of 2017, prior to Trump taking office, on the Russian dossier. Byron York just reported that, there was this, masterminds that got, Brennan, Comey, they had decided to brief Trump. And part of it was there was an addendum attached to that, which was the dossier, and it was the salacious, P-tape. And what they had this plan to go in there and, walk up to Trump when Comey's alone with Trump and say, hey, I found this P-tape, to get his reaction, to capture his reaction, to see if he would incriminate himself and so on. It wasn't until after that briefing. This was very top secret. It was unverified at the time. Only about 8 people, I think, in the Senate knew about it. Barack Obama knew about it also. But after that leaked to CNN. That's when Jake Tapper broke the story about the Russian dossier. That's when BuzzFeed then after that broke the story about it. It seems, and I wrote about it at the time, it seems like there was some coordinated effort to get this information out there, to go after President Trump. And it seems like the more things come out, the more it seems orchestrated. This is crazy. I mean, we spent, 35 million on this investigation into nothing, based on nothing. What was the crime they investigated? Yeah. It's crazy.
Stu, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting because they basically said he did something really, really, really wrong, but we're not going to prosecute you, which is essentially what he got in trouble for, right? I mean, coming out and saying that about Clinton, right? You come out and you say, oh, well, Hillary did something really, really, really wrong. I think gross negligence was maybe a way you might characterize it, but no prosecution. And
that's the standard for prosecution.
Right. Normally, but not in that case. And then this
on the Espionage Act,
yeah. I think what's fascinating about Comey in particular is that, like, we really do live in, like, this very partisan time where both sides really hate each other, but they always unite in disliking James Comey. Like, Republicans and Democrats come together in this, like, glorious piece of bipartisanship to hate James Comey. There's really no one on James Comey's side other than James Comey at this point. It really is fascinating. I mean, like, there's very few characters in this position, right? Like Jeffrey Epstein, both sides hate him. There's a few, but, like, really, there's nobody who seems to come to this guy's defense, and it doesn't seem like he deserves it. Over and over again, he's shown to be on the wrong side of these things. He didn't handle it. I mean, if you think about his official reason for getting fired in the first place by the Trump administration was that he was essentially too mean to Hillary Clinton. Like, this guy can't do anything right. At least though, it's a piece of entertainment. We're so used to having, like, left guy says this about the right guy, and the right guy says this about the left guy. All guys say this about James Comey. Everyone seems to agree.
Now, but it's taken a while to get to that evolution.
Yes.
There's really only two things left to be said. Number one, apparently the higher calling, the higher authority was himself.
Yeah, it usually is.
Absolutely.
And the only other thing remaining now is, where is he going to be pictured next, taking that pensive look into the middle distance?
Yes.
How weird was that? Did you see that picture when he was in the middle of the street?
I mean, there were multiple of them, right? The desert and the street and the woods are not looking into the ocean.
Are you kidding me?
Where's this next one going to be?
I cringed when I saw that a little bit. That was a cringe moment.
It was unique, right? I mean, he's now become the king of Instagram. Who would have thought that James Comey, the FBI guy, would actually be reigning Instagram and Twitter based upon looking pensively into the middle distance?
It fits our society, though, because I would say if you're looking at the hierarchy of things, like government service, honorable government service in the FBI is below Instagram star. Instagram
you're right.
star is definitely the pinnacle of our society at this point. So why not go for it?
What will he be known more for? The fact that he passed on prosecution of something that seemed to be prosecutable, that he leaked documents all over the world, it seems like, or looking pensively into the middle distance.
Well, about that, he passed on the prosecution. He's not even the prosecutor, he's the investigator.
Yeah, right.
He came out, elucidated the law, said this is what she did, which was gross negligence, and then said, I don't recommend charges. But you're not a prosecutor. You don't do that. You do the investigating. Loretta Lynch is the one that makes it the call, or Barack Obama makes that call. And as I said before, we went on air, I don't know where that came from for him to come out, but it gave them a lot of cover for him to say, don't recommend charges. I mean, the American people kind of accepted that after that.
Yeah. Stu, you did just mention that James Comey brings us all together in our dislike of him. I also think, though, I think the American people are just so frustrated at the fact that, you've got Hillary Clinton, as you touched on, Will, that does all of these things, where are the 33,000 emails, doesn't get in trouble for it at the end of the day, has no consequences for it. Now you've got James Comey, who, it's like, why do these policies exist if these people in Washington are not going to ever have consequences or have to take responsibility when they violate them?
Yeah, we do have a decent amount of laws that we don't seem to apply. I mean, there's amendments. There's entire amendments we don't seem to care about anymore. The fourth, does that even count anymore as one, or have we overturned that? It's one of those things where I think the standards don't apply, and that's what frustrates so many people when it comes to politics. There's not a sense that that people in these positions are held accountable the way the others are. Luckily, we have a system that was able to dole out some punishment to Hillary Clinton, which is why she's sitting at home nasty tweeting Donald Trump every day instead of leading our country. So there are some consequences. I think Comey's felt some of that, right? I mean, like his reputation is essentially toast.
Which probably matters more to him.
For him, I mean, it seems like the most important thing to him. So I don't know. I mean, you're right, though. These rules are set up, and there's not even an acknowledgement as to why they're not applied to these people.
I disagree that his reputation's toast. I think among the left, he has a great reputation. I mean, again, like I said earlier, the Mueller report wouldn't have happened probably. We wouldn't have Mueller without Comey. I think, look, they were mad at him in October of 2016 when he came out and said, I found more emails, right, because it hurt Hillary. But they loved him again when he hopped on Russia.
Let's not just brush by that, though. 10 days before the election, he announced an investigation by the FBI against one of the two presidential candidates. The left did not like that. I mean, when that was going on, Trump was on stage saying, James Comey's my man. Yeah. I mean, this is the greatest guy in the universe back then. And then, of course, you're right, this all leads to the Mueller, and now the right doesn't like him either. I mean, I think you're right. There are certainly some people who respect him, but I think as a whole, it's like he's not made friends on either side. And part of that is, I think, his opinion of himself. Like, he thinks he's above all of this. He thinks he's the guy that can finally bring back some some principled thinking to this world.
And how is that different than a lot of media pundits like Lawrence O'Donnell, who comes out with a fake story about Trump, getting underwritten by Russian oligarchs and so on? These people just making things up out of thin air. Rachel Maddow's show was predicated on Russia and talking about it and conspiracies. When this Mueller report came out and there was nothing in it, her ratings tanked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of people kind of hopping on this train, and they think they're so above everything. Meanwhile, they're peddling like conspiracy theories, and no one's calling them on it. There was Don Lemon's on TV yesterday talking again about Russia, and it's like you're still talking about it.
How are they still talking about it? Mueller's kind of in the same category, though. It's like another guy who was very well respected at one point by both sides. Obviously, then the investigation starts, and the right is pissed off about this investigation. But then it's a letdown to the left, so now they're pissed at him too. It's like there's a few characters that can pull this off in our society. It's difficult. Yeah. Everybody takes sides. They're like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. Like everyone's got a team, but no one has the Jacksonville Jaguars. And these guys kind of just like hang around there. It's a bizarre function of our society.
Jeremy,
right now.
last word.
Well, I think it's just one more indication. All of this is an indication again of not only our narcissistic society, and that gets to the picture of the middle distance thing, but also the fact that we just have a lack of principled individuals that are occupying office, either in appointed offices or career offices or political offices right now. And we are suffering in this country because we have people that are more interested in on how many Instagram followers and Twitter followers that you have, or seeing what they can actually get away with, and saying, this is what the Constitution stands for. This is what our country is founded upon, and this is where we're going to lead in that direction. That is just a secondary, maybe a tertiary discussion way down the line.
Definitely tertiary.
That is, at best, is packaged in a way to say, hey, vote for me again. Yeah. Right? But right now, we're kind of throwing all that away to the point where we're getting to the kind of the oligarchical thinking that you're talking about, of saying we're rich by the rulers or ruled by the rich, whatever it is. Powerful and all that. We need more principled individuals to be able to take up that mantle again.
All right, more to come. Stay tuned.
James Comey just heard you say, we need more James Comeys. That's what he heard from that. He did. That's exactly what he heard.
As you guys know, we have been following the Lawrence O'Donnell saga. Lawrence O'Donnell, who went on national television and told everyone that a source had told him that Donald Trump had a loan co-signed by Russian oligarchs. And it was a very explosive story, if true, but minor details. Of course, MSNBC later came out and said, Deutsche Bank cannot confirm this. Oh, also, the source has never actually seen what he's talking about. And by the way, neither have we.
And that happened within the show.
Yes.
Right? Like that happened within the hour-long show he had yesterday. Like the reversal from like, this is really solid to, the source, I didn't see it and the source didn't even see it.
Yeah.
That happened just before he even went off the air.
Well, Rachel Maddow's reaction was the best to me when he's telling her and she's like, all right, I'm not going to sign on to this one.
Even she wouldn't do it.
Right, when you lose Rachel Maddow.
That's a magic trick.
It's a huge deal.
But before we get into Lawrence O'Donnell's official retraction, I just for clarification, I would like to remind you guys who this guy is. Watch.
James Fallows and Josh Earnest, thank you both for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it? Where's the hammer? Is it on the, go up on the other floor. Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering. Call Phil Griffin. I don't care who the you call. Stop the hammering. Empty out the control room and find out where this is going on. It's either there or out there somewhere.
Or anywhere.
I love this video.
Jesus Christ. Crazy sound coming in my ear, this stupid hammering. I told you why I wanted those words cut. It just sucks. It sucks to be out here with this out of control. Any thing can come into my ear at any moment. Things. How do you say this guy's last name?
My favorite part is when he's like, it could be coming from over there, or maybe over there, or it could be from literally any other place that I'm going to point.
That is like legitimately my favorite Lawrence O'Donnell moment of all time.
It is.
I actually like him most in this moment than any other time.
I'm not
he's ever
clear.
been on
Was he
television.
talking about our friend Josh Hammer at
No,
the time? Or was this an actual Hammer?
If so, he really does not like Josh Hammer.
Let's be clear, by the way, they redid the entire roof while we were on the air doing radio every day. Like, every freaking day. Like they were like tearing the roof down in the middle of the show. We're like, what are we? And we didn't swear at least that much.
Well, no one caught it on tape anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll just say
they probably did. It will be released later.
So Lawrence O'Donnell last night, because he was pressured by the White House, let's be real, I doubt that this retraction would have come had he not had Trump's legal team sending letters to NBC News saying, hey, guess what? You're, engaging in defamatory statements, and we demand that you immediately retract this. So here is what he had to say last night.
Last night on this show, I discussed information that wasn't ready for reporting. I repeated statements a single source told me about the president's finances and loan documents with Deutsche Bank, saying, if true, as I discussed the information, was simply not good enough. I did not go through the rigorous verification and standards process here at MSNBC before repeating what I heard from my source. Had it gone through that process, I would not have been permitted to report it. I should not have said it on air or posted it on Twitter. I was wrong to do so. We don't know whether the information is inaccurate. But the fact is, we do know it wasn't ready for broadcast, and for that, I apologize.
I mean, we don't know.
In fairness, there was a lot of hammering going on. Yeah.
Wait, it could be accurate. It could be inaccurate. Who are we to say? We don't know.
I mean, this plays into the whole, guilty until proven innocent. It wasn't ready. What do you mean it wasn't ready? Like, there's going to be a point in the future when it is ready to report news where you don't have proper sourcing on it. And look, we just saw him go on a tirade on this, on this rant. There's a lot of pressure in media. And like I mentioned before, without Russia, the media is having a hard time attracting eyeballs. Then they diverted towards race. The race thing's starting to wear thin. Now they want to go back to Russia. And I'm sure Larry O'Donnell wanted to break a story. He wanted to get viewers. He wanted to be in the news, and he wanted to be relevant again. And I'm sure maybe he did have a source. I have a lot of sources that come to me with information. And I'm like, well, can you get me documents on that? Can I find another source? You really have to go through this as if they're lying to you. And then once you know it's not a lie and you can actually report it, you do. But in journalism, if I were to do that, I'd be fired on the spot. Automatically done.
And you should be, right? I mean,
Fired.
if you don't come at something like that in it with a skeptical eye, when it's something that's this is the most dangerous type of thing. That's something that so reinforces your own worldview.
Exactly.
Like, as a journalist, it's like your number one thing to make
say this is too good to be true.
Exactly. That's how you should
good to be
treat
true.
every one of those things. And this is I think it's a long-term situation going on, particularly with the left and the media right now, which is, we saw it with Kavanaugh, right? I mean, like when we would talk about the Kavanaugh case and say like, well, you can't prove X, Y, and Z. You don't, does this sound legitimate? And they would come back at us a lot of times on the left and say, well, it could happen. Here's a way that it could have happened. And it's like, that's not the standard here. You're accusing a man of rape. Like that's
exactly.
What do you mean it's possible? Yes, you're right. I wasn't there. I can't completely disprove it. I wasn't in the room. I don't know if they were ever in the room together. But that's not the standard here. And we've crossed that line now. It just seems like if you can find a way especially when it comes to the president more than really anybody else in the world, you can come out with a way to say something bad about him. It's sort of like you're excused because we know he's horrible. We know he's a bad guy and he's done something wrong. So if you get it wrong this time, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. That's not the right way to run a news network. I mean, we worked at CNN and Fox News. We wrote a lot of things that went on the air at those places. Very rarely was there a time where they would step in and say, okay, hey, you can't do that. Like that's, occasionally they would say like, I think you should change this or whatever because it didn't hit their standards for whatever it was. And that does happen. I mean, when you're in the middle of a off-the-cuff conversation, it can happen often. When you've got what is obviously a written script and you have a huge scoop in which you are finding out exclusive information against the President of the United States, it would be stunning if NBC News did not look at that before he actually read it. I mean, unless he just honestly just said, screw all you guys and went on the air 5 minutes before, pasted the script in and didn't let anybody see it, a normal process at a place like that, somebody in the news department would have had a heads up.
The way that he's speaking to his control room in that Hammer video, I'm pretty sure he's not the type of guy who's going to go in there and paste it all in there himself.
Who did it better, though, Larry O'Donnell or Bill O'Reilly? I don't know. That is a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Here's why this matters, though. It's not just because it's fun to kind of laugh at this and see a non-apology on air. What this is having the effect of downstream is throughout the rest of our society, and things like civil rights commissions that are out there, where now you have to come and prove your innocence. Kavanaugh was a great example of that. He had to prove his innocence somehow. Wait, we have a standard in this country that says you're innocent until proven guilty. People have to bring evidence to you to say you're wrong and you're breaking the law. This is insidiously shifting that standard.
Exactly
throughout the rest of it, not just through the news cycle, and that's an important element, and we need to be able to trust the media to tell us things that are important to us to know. We don't right now because they've so badly, on the right and left, frankly, mangled the line between news and opinion that we have no idea which is which anymore. But when it gets into actual day-to-day life with clients like we have there, Melissa Klein and others that are having to come in and say, hey, I'm innocent. Well, prove it. How do you prove that you're innocent? You're supposed to be actually presumed to be innocent, and someone else has to actually demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt, or at least with a preponderance of evidence using the legal standards, that you're guilty.
Yeah. And I think, I heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, he wasn't trying to paint a narrative against Trump. He was just trying to be the first one to the scoop, right? That's what these journalists want to do. They want to be the first one to break the news.
It gets back to our Comey discussion about I want to be the popular guy in the room.
Right.
Well, that's not what you're there to be.
Right.
You're supposed to be providing us a useful service, or in Comey's situation, leading the country in some certain direction?
Well, I think that it tells you all that you need to know about his intentions, that he still has not taken down the original tweet that he said, I've got coming up on my show tonight. This is what happened. A source told me this. That tweet is magically still there. I think that tells you all you need to know about O'Donnell's.
We don't know that the information is inaccurate.
Yeah. That's true.
It's just not ready yet.
That's the equivalent of saying, I'm sorry if you felt offended.
Yeah. It's like he's baking a pie.
Back in a minute.
Not ready.
It's not ready.
I mean, just wait a few minutes more. Take it out of the oven. It's fine. We are going into overtime next, but I'm worried that we've lost Will.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking off air about vegan brisket, and he looks horrified, and I'm not sure.
You can't put vegan in front of brisket. It doesn't make sense.
Make vegan chicken. I mean.
Yeah, you can't do that either.
What they do, though, is it's CHICK''N. It's chicken. Chicken.
Goodness.
That one E was just too much.
That was it, yeah.
We've officially lost our culture and our society at this point.
Still coming up in overtime, we've got #Trump hates military families. Oh, obviously he does. A lot to get into, but you're not going to hear it unless you go to blazetv.com, become a subscriber, and get $10 off of your annual subscription if you use promo code NEWS. Or you can listen to it on podcast if you don't like seeing our faces.
Yeah, and if you listen to overtime, we'll pay you time and a half.
Will we?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Up zero.
Yeah, up zero. But it is time and a half.
So generous.
Subscribe and rate us too. We'll see you in overtime.